And we ask kids all the time, what do you want to be when you grow up? And none of them said they want to be a blind person.
Well, there you go.
That's exactly what was happening to me. And so I had to sort of rethink what I wanted to be when I grew up and reimagine my hopes and dreams for myself and my future. And so that was a difficult time, but I think I've lived a lot of my life outside of my comfort zone. When you're young and bouncing off of things physically, that's uncomfortable. When you're in high school and not able to do things at night that you would like to do socially, that's uncomfortable. When you go completely blind in college and have to give up your self-identity, psychologically, emotionally, that's uncomfortable. But the thing that I'll say that has been more of a gift to me than I would have hazarded to guess at that time. You know, it's helped me to develop, I think, a more resilient mindset, which is why I think I'm with you today. It's because I've had so much discomfort in my life that I've gotten comfortable with discomfort. You know, I go skiing on black diamond terrain and even double black diamond terrain without being able to see. And I don't know that I would have been able to do that had it not been for my eye condition getting me so comfortable with discomfort. Now, you know, it was way outside of my comfort zone at first, and I certainly didn't start on a black diamond, but the idea of strapping skis to myself and getting on the side of a steep mountain in Colorado, that in and of itself was outside of my comfort zone. But I think that's probably what gives me an advantage. If I could see it, it might be a little too intimidating, right? You've got to take advantage of your disadvantages. If your listeners aren't familiar with the double black diamond, it's literally the steepest and scariest slope, right? It's got all these jagged rocks and big cliffs and passageways that are about 8 feet wide. Sounds like the perfect place for a blind guy like me, right? I mean, what could possibly go wrong? The technology that I needed to use, this piece of software that you put on a Windows computer, it's a screen reading technology. It didn't work with everything out of the box. So you couldn't just, you know, log into a company system and expect it to work with everything. There were some obstacles, not really being able to do my job at that point. I knew that I had a couple of options. Option number one was to have them hire somebody to come in and figure out how to write code to build a bridge between these two software programs.
Right.
And that would kind of set me up as a liability. Option two was that I figure out how to do it myself. And because I was 25 years old, hopefully had a long career in front of me, I thought, you know what, I'm better off if I just learn how to do this on my own. So I did that. I could put some code together that was a hack. But within a few years, I was getting so good at it that I had people seeking me out, and I started doing it professionally, moonlighting a little bit, doing that, created a consulting company. You know, I felt sorry for myself too for a little while. But then I realized, you know what, I'm 20 something years old. If I'm going to feel sorry for myself for the rest of my life, well, that's a whole lot of sorry. I just can't do it. I couldn't stomach the thought of feeling sorry for myself that much. It was too overwhelming. And so one of the things I thought about, years from now, when you look back on your life, how are you going to feel if you don't get what you want out of your life? Is it okay to make an excuse and to feel sorry for yourself in the moment? When years from now, if you look back, if you know you didn't get what you wanted out of your life, or is it better to hold yourself accountable? And so I decided at that moment, I looked forward in my life and I looked back on my life. Which decision can future Chad live with? Every single person listening to this podcast, without exception, will become the stories that they tell themselves about themselves. One of the most important lessons that any of us can learn is how to tell themselves the right stories. Now, look, the fact of the matter is I went blind when I was in college. Okay, that's a fact. Now, there are a couple of different stories that I could tell myself about that. One story is, Chad, look, you went blind because you've got terrible luck. Poor you. Or an alternative story to that would be, Chad, you actually went blind because you're one of the very few people on planet Earth who has the strength and the toughness to overcome that and use it to help other people. But one of these stories, the first one, paints me as a victim. But the second story actually takes my disability, my misfortune and reframes it into my strength.
If you enjoy this podcast, please make sure to subscribe. And to stay updated on everything that the Action Catalyst is up to, make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Action Catalyst Podcast and on Twitter at Catalyst_Action. And thanks for listening.